When I was a kid during the summer holiday, I would go to work with my dad. He was a trucker and would often be gone for days at a time. I loved riding in the truck as we were always higher up than everyone else, and I loved to people watch. You would see people singing at the top of their lungs, couples arguing, even people picking their nose and eating it. This one time my dad asked me if I wanted to go with him and said we would be gone for 3 days, which was the longest journey I ever did. I jumped at the chance and went to pack my things. We set off on the road. The sun was shining, and I honestly didn't have a care in the world, just me and my dad. On our first night, my dad decided to pull into a truck stop to rest up for the night. There was a diner, a gas station, and a small convenience store to grab supplies for the road. We pulled in, and the place was relatively empty. Sometimes we would struggle to park, but this place had more than enough space. We went and ate dinner and got supplies for the next day so we could hit the road as soon as day broke. My dad went to get a shower in the rest stop facilities. I decided to play on my Game Boy while he did. I was playing away when there was a knock at the truck door. "Hey, are you Chloe?" I'm not sure how this guy knew my name, and I was taught never to talk to strangers, so rather than confirming my name, I asked how I could help. "Your dad asked me to come and get you. He slipped in the shower and thinks he's broken his ankle." I looked at him, but how else would he know my name? I dropped my Game Boy and jumped out of the truck. As soon as my feet hit the floor, the man grabbed me and started to pull me around to the back of the truck. He put his hand over my mouth so that I couldn't scream, but I bit his finger, which caused him to move his hand enough for me to scream help. Another trucker heard my scream and shouted over to let me go as he started to run over. The man dropped me to the floor and ran over a small hill behind the truck. The trucker ran over and asked me if I was okay before chasing after the man. It was too late though. The man had a car parked on the other side of the hill, and by this time he was too far away for the trucker to see the license plate or get a detailed description of the car. The trucker who helped me took me into the diner where it was safe, and there was staff that could keep an eye on me while he went to find my dad. My dad came in a few minutes later and apologized for leaving me and gave me a hug. We reported the incident to the police, but there were no cameras in that part of the truck stop, and no one really got a good look at the man's face. I'd hate to think what would have happened if that trucker hadn't heard my cries for help. I'm pretty sure this man had every intention of dragging me to the car and taking me somewhere, but for what purpose, I will never know. I'm a truck driver and have been doing this for most of my adult life. The majority of my routes lay between New York and Maine, and occasionally I do drops to other towns and cities within a 12-hour drive of New York. I like the regularity of my route as I can drive the roads without even thinking about it. On this one particular night, I was about 2 hours from my destination when a white van overtook me at quite a speed. The van pulled back and gradually slowed down in front of my truck, leaving only about 2 car lengths of distance. The truck I drive is a 16-wheeler semi, and I remember thinking if this guy brake checks me, he probably won't live to tell the tale. The van then started to speed up and took off into the distance. I wasn't sure why the van pulled in so close to me. There was no logical explanation other than him being a dick. I thought maybe I was about to be jacked and kept checking my mirrors for any other approaching vehicles, but nothing ever came. As I drove for another 20 miles or so, there was a road closure up ahead and a diversion down some back roads. We were usually informed of road closures, as sometimes we were diverted down roads that were not suitable for the size and weight of the vehicle. I had no choice, so I drove up the off-ramp, and this took me down a quiet road where I met 2 white vans blocking the road. I stopped my truck, knowing I was about to be jacked. I did have a firearm, but it was locked away and unloaded as required by law. I couldn't see anyone at this point, so I called my base on the radio and stated my location and that I thought I was about to get jacked. As I was talking, I noticed that one of the vans appeared to be the same one that came close to me not long before. 4 men jumped out of the 2 vans and ran over to me pointing guns up at the window, yelling at me and telling me to get out. I climbed out of the truck showing my hands. They shouted at me to lie face down in the dirt at the side of the road. They took my phone from my pocket and told me if I looked up or tried anything that they would blow my head off. I then heard not one, but two of the truck's doors close before it drove off. Once I was confident they were gone, I climbed to my feet and started walking back towards the highway. I felt sick, but in hindsight, nothing serious happened to me. I mean, I wasn't physically assaulted or anything, and I was more grateful to still be alive and without a hole in my chest. I didn't really lose anything personal, just some clothes and my DVD player that I had in the cab, and that was it. Nothing that couldn't be replaced for less than $100. About 20 minutes later, I saw two sets of lights approaching. It was two police cars. The base operator was able to track my vehicle and called the police, giving my location. The truck was found less than 10 minutes down the road. They pulled it over into a small road on a corner bend and unloaded the trailer. They must have had more vehicles waiting, as there's no way they could empty the truck with only two vans. They were able to catch two of the men, as stupidly enough, they climbed into my truck without wearing gloves. Both men were in the database and had prior convictions of armed robbery. They're both serving a minimum of 10 years. None of the other men were caught. As a truck driver, I have always had a sense of dislike towards my job. I spent days, even weeks sometimes, away from my wife and son. I've been a truck driver for over 10 years, and there have been several strange events that I've encountered on the roads at night. However, one particular incident stands out in my mind. It was a usual Monday night when I was heading towards Boston in my truck. It was 2 in the morning, and as I drove down the highway, I suddenly got the urge to go to the toilet. I had passed a gas station not too long back, so I knew the next one wouldn't be for a good while. The only option I had was to stop at the side of the road near some trees and bushes, get it done with, and resume my journey as quickly as possible. There are several risks involved in stopping in the middle of nowhere, including getting caught by the police, being attacked, or even robbed at gunpoint. I had never had any of these encounters before, so I decided to take the risk and stop at any suitable place I could pull in. Luckily, I found somewhere not too far down the road. I pulled in and jumped out of the truck and ran over to the nearest tree. That's when I heard a cell phone ringing further into the trees, about 20 feet in front of me. Hello? I looked around and couldn't see anyone. It was well lit at the side of the road, but looking into the trees was like staring into the depths of the ocean at night. I ran back to the truck, jumped inside and locked the doors. I used the flashlight from inside my truck to see if I could see anyone, but there was no one there. I could still hear the phone ringing, and then I realized the ringtone was the same as mine, and I couldn't find my phone. There was no way my phone ended up all the way out there without the intervention of someone or something else. I decided stupidly to go towards the ringing and see if it was my phone. As I was walking through the trees and getting closer to where the ringing sound was coming from, I saw the shadow of a man standing in the trees. I couldn't see his face, but I could see his large white eyes. I spent no time at all turning around and running back to my truck. No way was I going to go any further after seeing a man conveniently out in the woods where I decided to stop. I didn't get to the phone, but I wasn't sticking around any longer. I put my foot down and set off driving. A few miles down the road, I saw what I assumed was a hitchhiker standing by the side of the road, but this guy didn't have his thumb out. I started to slow down, but as I got closer, I noticed the man resembled the shadowy figure I'd seen in the trees. Same wide eyes, and again, no facial features. I'm not saying he didn't have any, more that he was likely to be wearing something to cover his face, like a mask or bandana or something. I put my foot down, and as I passed him, my phone started ringing from under my seat. I leaned forward to look and feel where my phone was when I saw the same man standing in the middle of the road. I naturally swerved and jackknifed the truck, crashing it into some trees. I hit my head on the steering wheel and was thrown around the cab as I lost control. In my panic, I'd forgotten to put on my seatbelt. I was accused of falling asleep at the wheel and fired from my job as a truck driver. No one believed I swerved to avoid a man in the middle of the road. I really don't believe I imagined it, but I just don't understand what it could have been.